Hi everyone, I'm Jessie Stidham, and today I'm going to be talking about the 5 features of emerging adulthood. This is an important topic because it is affecting most of the people in this class and the people that you know right now. I will first go over what emerging adulthood is and how it came about. Then I will go on to explain what each of the 5 characteristics are. And finally, I will go on to summarize some studies about the 5 characteristics of emerging adulthood. What is emerging adulthood, you ask? Many psychologists and researchers say that emerging adulthood is a prolonged period of dependency on one's parents in an individual's life that is characterized by exploration and several different changes. Emerging adulthood usually encompasses the ages from 18 to 25 years old. Not all cultures support the theory of emerging adulthood. However, in the countries and cultures that do, they believe that each individual's experiences will be different. Bahari and his co-authors state that it really depends on an individual's culture, socioeconomic status, and where they live. Emerging adulthood seems to be common in developed countries, industrialized, and post-industrialized countries. However, it is not limited to these constraints. Now you ask, what are the reasons emerging adulthood developed as a new life stage? 2 of the more obvious reasons for this new life stage is individuals waiting longer to get married and have children. As stated in the textbook, in the United States and other developed countries, the average age for getting married is between 27 to 30. Another reason is the amount of people attending college or some kind of further education. A lot of young people in college still partially rely on others for things such as money, are not fully independent, and are waiting to get married. The technology revolution was a change in the American economy that requires technological skills, which most of the time will require more education. The sexual revolution sparked the use of birth control, which meant that women could control when and if they got pregnant. This also allowed individuals to have intimate relationships outside of the commitments of marriage. The women's movement allowed women more opportunities, which led to less stress for women to get married at such a young age. The youth movement emphasized that individuals should act and feel young, which altered perspectives on getting married, having children, and taking on more responsibilities. Now that I have explained emerging adulthood and its background, I will explain the 5 characteristics of emerging adulthood. I will start with identity explorations. According to Bahari and his co-authors, identity exploration as an emerging adult is when an individual will actively seek ways to resolve identity conflicts by finding their true selves and making important decisions. The age of identity exploration is thought to be the most important feature because for many emerging adults, this is the first time they can explore new life experiences. Emerging adults are developing their identities by trying different things to figure out who they are and what they want to do. Individuals are trying to understand how they fit into society and what their limits and capabilities are. Identity exploration is much more in-depth as an emerging adult than in adolescence. Adolescents do not usually make independent decisions or get involved in serious relationships, so it is hard for them to fully form their identity. This is usually the time when individuals are making more independent decisions. The choices they make are meaningful and important towards the development of their identity. The decisions that an individual makes in their love life, work life, and worldviews are very important for their identity development. Even though identity exploration is very important, some believe it has its limitations. In some cultures, emerging adults are encouraged to stay with their parents until they are married, which can hinder identity exploration. Negative outcomes of identity exploration include rejection and disappointment in one's love life and work life decisions. In addition to that, changing worldviews with no replacements can harm one's identity development. Risky behavior such as unsafe driving habits, substance abuse, and unprotected sex can also hinder one's identity development. After talking about all these limitations to identity development, it is easy to see that there is instability in an emerging adult's life. The age of instability is characterized by many frequent changes in an emerging adult's life that can be very distressful or difficult to deal with. Relationships can be very distressful for many different reasons, whether it be staying in a harmful relationship or ending a good relationship. Career changes at this time can also cause a great amount of stress because one will try to do what they love, but they also may need money and have to decide between the two. Education causes instability because it is very stressful and it is a stepping stool to achieve one's dream career. Moving around a lot is a big factor of instability in an emerging adult's life because many emerging adults will be moving to college into a dorm or apartment and coming back home for the summer or decide to transfer somewhere farther away. So it's a lot of meeting new people and getting to know new environments. And because of the exploration and experimentation done during emerging adulthood, their life can be very unpredictable at this time. But once they're done with the exploration, the instability will most likely fade. Focusing on oneself during all this exploration and instability is very important for an emerging adult. The textbook states that emerging adults should be focused on themselves while they develop their knowledge, skills, and self-understanding needed to become a young adult. Since an emerging adult has less obligations to friends and family, they have more time for themselves. During this time, when an emerging adult is focusing on themselves, they are maturing and becoming more self-sufficient. Emerging adults are accepting more responsibilities since they are away from their home. Making independent decisions is also very important, and this will shape their life and help them become more self-sufficient. Financial independence is very important to oneself because it means that they can provide for themselves. After working on oneself, they will feel more like a young adult, and this can create a feeling of being in between. This new life stage is between adolescence and young adulthood. Most emerging adults believe that they are not adolescents and not adults either, but they are a little bit of both. Some cultures, such as the ones in China and India, have a lot of emerging adults that do not report feeling very in between. However, in America and Malaysia, emerging adults do experience this feeling of in between. Emerging adulthood is a transition from adolescence to adulthood. Many young individuals are not ready to settle into adult roles, but they don't classify themselves as adolescents since they take on some responsibilities. Finally, the last characteristic of emerging adulthood is possibilities. There are so many opportunities and possibilities in this stage, which make it very possible for emerging adults to be very optimistic and hopeful for the future. They can explore all these possibilities and decide what is best for them. This time of life is also a time for major changes if emerging adults could really better themselves or remove themselves from less than ideal situations from their adolescence. They can transform themselves into how they want to be. Emerging adults are free to make their own choices without having to make the hard choices or having adult responsibilities. They have time to think on major decisions and make their choices. And now I will describe a couple studies done on the 5 characteristics of emerging adulthood. The first research study I will be talking about is Emerging Adulthood, a Theory of Development from the Late Teens through the 20s by J.J. Arnett. In this article, Arnett explains that many different theories led to the development of this new life stage and its characteristics. Erickson believed in developed countries there is a delay to take on commitments and responsibilities that resulted in a prolonged period of adolescence. Levinson developed the idea of a novice phase that was based on building a stable life amidst instability and possibilities in one's life. Keniston created a theory of youth, which was a time of exploration and experimentation between adolescence and young adulthood. Then it explained that demographic changes at this time led to unpredictability and exploration in emerging adulthood. And then finally, the article theorized that as globalization continues, emerging adulthood will become more standardized. The next research study is the effect of parental attachments on emerging adults. Bahari and his co-authors state that emerging adults need secure parental attachments in order to explore. This study focused on the trust, communication, and alienation features of parental attachments and their effects on the 5 features of emerging adulthood. Trust was positively related to identity exploration, being self-focused, feeling in between, and possibilities, and there was no effect found on instability. Communication was positively related to identity exploration and feeling in between, and it had no real effect on being self-focused, instability, or possibilities. Alienation was only positively related to instability and had no real effect on being self-focused, feeling in between, identity exploration, or the possibilities of emerging adulthood. And with that, I will conclude my presentation on emerging adulthood and its 5 features. I hope you all learned the importance of this new life stage and understand its characteristics. Hopefully the studies were helpful with your understanding of this topic, and if you want more information, you can check out these references. Hope you all have a great day.